born afresh each morning to serve, after the fashion of certain agitated ephemeral insects, only till the morrow. It was as if a past had been wasted on her, and a future were not to be fitted. She was really herself, so far at least as her great preoccupation went, an addition, an extra special, coming out at the loud hours and living its life amid the roar of vehicles, the hustle of pavements, the shriek of newsboys, according to the quantity of shock to be administered, thanks to the varying temper of Fleet Street, to the nerves of the nation. Maud was a shocker, in short, in petticoats, and alike for the thoroughfare, the club, the suburban train, and the humble home, though it must honestly be added that petticoats were not of her essence. This was one of the reasons, in an age of emancipations, of her intense actuality, as well as, positively, of a good fortune to which, however impersonal she might have appeared, she was not herself in a position to do full justice. The felicity of her having about her naturally so much of the young bachelor that she was saved the disfigurement of any marked straddling or elbowing. It was literally true of her that she would have pleased less, or at least have offended more, had she been obliged or been prompted to assert, all too vainly, as it would have been sure to be, her superiority to sex. Nature, constitution, accident, whatever we happen to call it, had relieved her of this care. The struggle for life, the competition with men, the taste of the day, the fashion of the hour, had made her superior, or had at any rate made her indifferent, and she had no difficulty in remaining so. The thing was therefore, with the aid of an extreme general flatness of person, directness of step, and simplicity of motive, quietly enough done, without a grace, a weak inconsequence, a stray reminder to interfere with the success, and it is not too much to say that the success, by which I mean the plainness of the type, would probably have never struck you as so great as at the moments of our young lady's chance comradeship with Howard Bite. For the young man, though his personal signs had not, like his friends, especially the effect of one of the stages of an evolution, might have been noted as not so fiercely or so freshly a male as to distance Maud in the show. She presented him, in truth, while they sat together, as comparatively girlish. She fell naturally into gestures, tones, expressions, resemblances, that he either supposed, from sensibility to her personal predominance, or that were merely latent in him through much taking for granted. Mild, sensitive, none too solidly nourished, and condemned, perhaps by a deep delusion as to the final issue of it, to perpetual coming and going, he was so resigned to many things, and so disgusted even with many others, that the least of his cares was the cultivation of a bold front. What mainly concerned him was its being bold enough to get him his dinner, and it was never more void of aggression than when he solicited in person those scraps of information, snatched at those floating particles of news, on which his dinner depended. Had he had time a little more to try his case, he would have made out that if he liked Maud Blandy, it was partly by the impression of what she could do for him. What she could do for herself had never entered into his head. The positive quantity, moreover, was vague to his mind. It existed, that is, for the present, but as a proof of how, in spite of the want of encouragement, a fellow could keep going. She struck him, in fact, as the only encouragement he had, and this altogether by example, since precept, frankly, was deterrent on her lips, as speech was free, judgment prompt, and accent not absolutely pure. The point was that, as the easiest thing to be with her, he was so passive that it almost made him graceful, and so attentive that it almost made him distinguished. She was herself neither of these things, and they were not, of course, what a man had most to be, whereby she contributed to their common view the impatiences required by a proper reaction, forming thus for him a kind of protective hedge behind which he could wait. Much waiting for either was, I hasten to add, always in order, inasmuch as their novitiate seemed to them interminable, and the steps of their ladder fearfully far apart. It rested, the ladder, against the great stony wall of the public attention, a